not why I want to promote you tonight.
Twice now.
Twice.
No
Sorry.
problem, Mr. Chairman and board members. I did receive a photograph of the house looking at it from Dandelion Way. And the question I had, just to get some direction, because I wasn't here at the meeting when you decided this, on this particular view that I'm showing you right now, the applicant did add some shutters to the existing windows, which I believe is, my understanding is what the board intended. And there was also discussion about what I call a faux door, realizing that on the Dandelion side, the doorway wasn't functional because of the interior layout of the house and what have you. But as far as a faux door, what I see on this photograph that they've actually done is basically just taken some trim work and outlined a door, if you will, and put some different type of siding there. My understanding and belief, and that's what I want to clarify with the board, is that the board's intent was to take a physical real door, splice it into the siding, if you will, have hardware on it so that it looked functional from the street, but it wouldn't be functional, that'd be faux door, but it would look like a real door from Dandelion Way. The other thing that I think was the intent on this particular picture, and also the second one that I'm going to show you, there's no landscaping along the foundation of the building. And based on my discussion with landscape architects in our office, they recommended landscaping along the foundation to help soften and buffer the foundation of the house and make it blend in better with the neighborhood. So that was my understanding, and I just wanted to make sure I was on the same page as the board in their rendering of their decision.
And it was correct, Glenn.
That certainly was my understanding, that you wanted to have that facade along Dandelion look like it should be. The board didn't say it had to be a real door, but it had to actually have the appearance of it. The resolution is pretty straightforward in saying that. So the idea is to give the facade, if you read the resolution, to give the facade a treatment so that it looks like other front doors.
I have 6 copies, I can give each one. Again, Glenn was sorry, it's for legal purposes. It's only, we're doing the as of courtesy to move this along just for the board. There's no. Physical copies of the resolution. Yeah, we have it, we have it too.
No.
Not going to get in discussion with the public. Like I said, it's not open to the public, please. Please just understand. I appreciate it. What was that? What? I'm not going to get into discussion here.
The board knows what action it took, so the board can certainly discuss anything it wants amongst itself. It's not open to the public, but what your recollections are, and you all voted on it, and we're here. David was not here, so I think the chairman has set it down appropriately, and the chairman can certainly, and the board members can certainly say anything that you all want and discuss it and decide what should be done.
All right, we'll go to each board member. John, we'll start with you. You can't. Glenn.
This is wrong because he wasn't here. You're not telling me false. You're telling me, I was told this is a public testimony for me by Marissa Farbo last Friday. You want to talk proper notice? This morning,
Was no-
I got the resolution.
Please, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. No, hold it. Wait. No, wait a minute. Let me finish. The police have been notified downstairs, so I don't want to have to call them and have them come in here. So please, just remain calm. Let us do our job. And if anything, at the end of this, it doesn't sit with anyone, or you, Glenn, you can always sue the board and go to court. That's the next step. All right? And if you want to do that, that's another whole area, and you're justified to do that. But let us do our job here, and you don't agree with it. And again, I'm not going to speak to anyone else or yourself until we decide here and we're done. Please, just have some patience. And I know if you don't agree with it, the next step is a lawsuit, and that's your prerogative with that. But let us do what we're going to do here, please. I don't want to have to call the police on this, too. It's not necessary. You're all adults. We all have our viewpoints and so forth, but just try to bear with it until we're done. We'll go to the board. Glenn?
Yes, sir.
Now, what do you want to do now in terms of speaking with each member of the board with their comments?
Let the board members just give comments and.
Yeah, say, go ahead, John. What's your comment?
I have no comment.
I mean, no comment about, so nothing, no questions or anything with the number 3 condition here in the resolution?
Because actually, I was not here.
That's, Rich, what about yourself?
Okay, I agree with what Dave said in terms that we said there should be an appearance of a front door on the street. And that appearance, to the builder's perspective, he originally, from the plans we saw originally, he had pipes coming out the end from the air conditioning units or something like that that have been removed. And they've done some work to that effect. But what is shown on these photographs is not the appearance of a front door. So I think I agree with what Dave has said, that something has to be done to give it more of an appearance of a front door, including landscaping, or you got the walkway going up to nowhere right now. And it should be shown to either go to a shrubbed area and then divert it off to the side, or have a front door put in, either a full front door or an entry type of appearance to it, hidden behind shrubs, as best you can. Okay? But I leave that up to Dave's discretion as to what constitutes the appearance that this is the front of the house.
All right, thank you, Rich. I agree with you 100% on that. You were, Mike, you were here? And
No,
what's your comments on it?
I think as the photo shows now, it doesn't look like a door. More needs to be done to make it look like a door. I would even say as far as steps, I mean, it needs to look like somebody that's passing the house needs to make it look like there's a front facade here. Right now, it looks like a back of a house still. That's all my comments.
All right, thank you, Mike. Richard?
I'm going to, I don't want to repeat additional previous comments, but I am going to agree with Mr. LaFriera that there needs to be something there that looks more like a door. And there should be some sort of landscaping in the front of the house. Obviously, to inform anyone who comes to the house that this is not a real door, that it's just there for the appearance. And to go from there, that the actual door follow the walkway around to the actual entrance of the house. But it should at least appear to be a door. And this does not look like a door in a residential area by any means. I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm not trying to be a hard ass, but it doesn't look right. That's all I
All right,
have to
thank
say
you,
about it.
Richard. Landon?
No, I basically concur with what the board members are saying here. It simply doesn't look like a front door. And there is work to do, and I don't believe that was the intention with what we voted on about when was this originally done?
On,
July 10th.
So yeah,
Last meeting.
I don't think that this wasn't what our intention was, I believe, as board members.
all right, thank you, Landon. So David, Glenn, what's the next step in terms of what the suggestions were and what the board commented on here tonight?
I guess I would ask a simple question to Dave. Does that give you sufficient guidance based on those comments and the feel for what's going on, looking at condition 3 and looking at the entire resolution? You read
Yeah.
these all the time, Dave.
I think the applicant has to submit a plan that shows what he's talking about doing, both with the landscaping and with the front door, the faux door, before he actually does it, so that we can review it and make sure we're all on the same page before they expend funds to do it. That's, I think, the next
One of the
step.
suggestions one of the board members made, I'm not sure which one, fellas, but one of the board members said, well, maybe even some kind of, not only the shrubbery, but maybe some kind of like steps, walkway.
Oh,
something to-
absolutely. Otherwise, it looks like the door's floating in thin air.
So basically, as I'm looking at the
Hell of a first
photographs,
step, that's all.
there's a set of steps coming off of
Hell of a
Dandelion.
first step.
There's a set of steps coming off of Dandelion, going to a walkway. Basically, they've got to continue the walkway up to where the faux door would be with a landing, so it looks like it's functional.
Now, with that concluding our discussion, I guess then the zoning office will send notes of this to the applicant, et cetera?
Well, the applicant is certainly here, and they certainly.
Yeah, but again, we haven't had it open to the public. You're going to do that now then, Glenn? Open it to the public or not? I'd rather not.
No, you could, what I would suggest is just what you said, Mr. Chairman, at the end of the evening. You could open to the public. If you wanted to open it up in between one of the applications as a break, that's up to you. You're in charge of the calendar and the schedule here.
No, but I mean, with what's discussed here tonight, the zoning office can put this all together and then send it to the,
Send it
To the
to
parties,
them, and
yeah.
if they have any questions, they would contact David Simmons.
right, exactly. So that concludes it?
I think so, just find out.
Any other questions with
I
that
don't know,
discussion?
do we even have to take everyone in favor of what was just, I'm not going to do a resolution or anything.
No, no,
It's
just a
it's just like David
notification.
gets it.
Yeah, and David, correct?
Yes.
In terms of the notification, everyone's in agreement with that?
Yes.
All right, that's done. So, Glenn, please, you cannot, Marissa in the zoning office will be contacting you with the notification of what we discuss. They'll be notifying you, and again, I can't discuss it, because I said we're not open to the public. I don't know how many times.
It's gonna be open to me.
It can't, it's not. This was just a discussion of the framework on the board and its members of the resolution and our condition 3.
The resolution
I'm not going to discuss it anymore, Glenn.
fits your criteria. Number 1 and 2, where his permits were null and void, and he still worked on the permits, even after they were null and void.
I can address that, and this will be it.
And this
The
is,
answer-
Glenn, excuse me, this is going to be it. After he's done addressing this, it's over.
He didn't get a full.
When you told me I could come down here and talk.
Glenn, excuse me, Glenn, you want to,
I'm just getting something so it's in front of me before I speak, Mr. Chairman.
again, it's going to be no more discussion, Glenn, and they'll notify you, the office, of what has to be done, and Mr. Simmons, et cetera, and it'll all work that way. But to be honest with you, we didn't even have to do this tonight. It's been memorial, I'm not going to discuss it, I'm trying.
Number two,
Glenn, just end it.
you shall install a front door on any other side of the property which front an existing municipal roadway.
Mr. Simmons will,
A door.
Mr. Simmons will be taking care of that. That's the answer. That's the answer. That's the answer, because the board was not going to have the kitchen ripped out. So it was going to be a faux door.
He kept working for 2 months.
Hold on. Mr. Chairman, this is the last thing.
Yeah,
This board is not, just listen to me. I'm not going to talk if you're not going to listen.
We're,
Gentlemen, this isn't your meeting. This isn't your meeting. Here's the answer. It was supposed to be faux doors. If, you can't keep talking like that. That's out of order. That's out of order. Whether I'm right, wrong, or something in between, it doesn't give you the right to interrupt someone. So listen and listen carefully. If, in fact, the board did vote on a faux door and you heard the members, folks, stop and listen. You can't listen when you're shaking and doing everything. The board voted on the faux doors. However, if there's an enforcement issue because he operated in violation of construction codes and other things, then you can ask for actions to be taken and deal with the construction department. This board has absolutely no jurisdiction over that. This board only has jurisdiction to deal with what was before it. I think the resolution reflected what the discussions were. I certainly was here, in all fairness to, stop. In all fairness to Dave.
please have some courtesy and listen, please. I know the other people in the audience, I know it's controversial, just please listen to them.
In
I
all fairness,
appreciate it.
in all fairness to Dave, Dave did the right thing. It came back before the board. The board discussed it. You heard the comments from all the members that were present. And if you're not happy with that, you can appeal that decision. You can absolutely do that. The board has put their opinions on the record, and as far as I can tell, you all agreed on everything that each one of you said.
Yes.
Except you, because you were quiet. Because you weren't here. So that's what it is. But they're going to have to fix it up. And they're going to have to do what David Simmons ultimately says is appropriate.
David will be the point man, correct?
Yes.
Thank you, David.
Okay, Mr.
All
Chairman.
right? That's it, completed. Thank you for coming, appreciate it.
Next.
You're welcome. Thank you again for your patience.
Well, I bet that makes it really a perfect time for Main Street to come on up.
Yes, Main Street, application 524, Mr. Ashkin. If you can come forward, it was carried from July 10, 24 agenda.
Oh, and was this stuff, while you're setting up, buddy, is this stuff that was submitted, or you just prepared it for the hearing tonight? All right, so we'll mark it as, I'm not even sure exactly where we are, but since this is we'll mark it as A1 tonight. I don't know that you submitted anything at the hearing anyway. A1A. Yeah, that's right, A1A. Okay?
A1A is the plot plan, page 202 of what was submitted. I just put some-
Hey, Bill, would you put a mic a little closer to O so we can pick them up, please?
Just make sure everything is loud enough, gentlemen, since it's requirement for the state, as you all know.
A1A.
A1A. It's a highway, too.
Yeah. Do you have to qualify them again, Glenn, or not?
No, I'm going to remind everybody that they're still under oath, and they have counsel here, and let's go to it. There were only a few issues, I think, that you had to address in kind of putting our arms around everything on this application, O.
We did a couple of revisions to the plan based on the last time we were here. Number one was there was concern with the propane tanks and where they would be located. We located them adjacent to the building, to the west of the building. They did not impact the location of the building. They meet all the setback requirements for propane tanks. So those will be located there. The second question that you had was with regard to the capacity of the septic. If they had a number of people over in a certain event, like we're doing something that more people showed up and needed to take showers, we doubled the capacity of the septic that would allow for up to 20 guests to take a shower if that were to occur at some point in time. And then the next item was, there's a fence on the adjoining property that when it crossed the property line, we've shown that to be relocated along the property line. And then we made a couple of revisions to the house in order to make it more residential. On the plot plan, nothing changed other than we added a deck to the rear of the property. So it has a deck coming up off of the interior. And I will move over to the architectural plans.
Are they revised, O?
They were revised and submitted as well.
All right, so that's going to be A.
A1B?
Very good.
Unfortunately, the architect couldn't make it tonight, so I'm going to cover the changes that he made to the interior of the facility. Number one, on the plans, he did put all of the code requirements in order to have a list of exactly what codes will be followed in order to permit this structure. On the lowest level, we added a bathroom along with some storage for to utilize that area and a washer and dryer. On the second floor, we added a laundry room. I would recommend.
Excuse me, Owen, A1B is going to consist of how many sheets? 3, 4?
come off the rear of the building in order to provide that. And we also added closets to the two bedrooms. Primarily, that was the open items. Get more confidential. I know there was some internal concerns with those items, so we've addressed that. The exterior, we addressed the issues there as well.
Owen, what's the date on the revisions on these pages, bud? Are they all the same? You don't have these?
Oh, I don't.
Yeah. Here's what I need, Owen. We're going to mark August 1st on the architecturals bill, and what about A1A, bud? A1A was August 1st. Were the architecturals in August 1st too?
I had noted in my report there was no revision date on the architectural plans, but they were received August 2nd, just for reference.
Notes are taken care of, Rich?
Thanks, Dave.
My office's cover letter on August 2nd.
Here's the reason I'm asking, should the board take action tonight? I just want to amend the resolution, but I just want to make sure it's the right set of plans so that there's no confusion or anything else, that's all.
I can write August 2nd on these, so at least we have,
Perfect.
all right?
Oh, do you have any more, Bill? Or Owen? Or anybody?
The one that, any more testimony?
Yeah.
We'll finish with the testimony, Ms. Ashen.
So for now, Mr. Simmons' report, some questions.
He'll cover it better than you ever could, so.
So you're finished with your testimony for the time being? David, if you're so kind.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. Just referring to the report I prepared dated August 12th, 2024. Most of the items were carryover because of the discussions and plans you had at previous hearings. I did have a couple points to bring up. I did notice that on the first sheet of the architectural plans, they did revise the garage area to show 5 vehicles being in there, the capacity. The one question that I had that I think the applicant should just explain to the board, there was some information in the transmittal letter with regards to possible reference to 20 guests, and I didn't know where the additional parking was going to take place or how that was going to be handled.
Yeah, that 20 guests were referred to, I scaled the septic up, and that was the capacity of the additional to provide showers for up to that number. It was just in response to the board's concern about the septic. Had nothing to do with the actual number.
But if you were going to get 20 guests, where would they all park?
They would park,
Bus.
we have 6 parking stalls between the garage and the driveway, and then the driveway on site is fairly short, but to the street, probably a half mile, so they could park on the side of the driveway.
That's the intent.
Yes.
Okay. The other thing I just want to point out to the board, there was a deed overlap, and they have put notes on the plans where they're going to quitclaim deed that overlap area to address that issue. The storm drainage basically was taken care of. I think this was discussed before, but I didn't recall if there was any change because of the architectural changes. Was there a generator for this site? No generator. And the HVAC units were going to be located in the back of the rear roof, right?
In the attic.
Okay. And well, septic, and I had pointed out before that the applicant was responsible for bringing the utilities up to the site, electric, telephone, what have you, because of the distance from 517. And the last item that we talked about was the maintenance agreement that'll have to be prepared because someone's got to be responsible for maintaining that for emergency vehicles from 517 all the way to the facility. And Mr. Askin can correct me, but I think that was going to be one of the conditions to take care of if the board granted an approval.
Correct.
Okay. And other than that, everything else was basically the same as my previous reports, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, David.
Yes, sir.
Any questions or comments from the board? Members?
David, you had a question about a retaining wall, and I think that's the retaining wall in the front by where the propane tanks are going to be located?
Yes,
Are those
that's-
tanks going
that's-
to be underground?
Underground, yes.
They're going to be underground?
Yeah.
Did you, I don't know.
The retaining wall detail, they just showed that for some grading purposes, and we just requested that they provide a construction detail of the exact wall that they're going to use. It's not a tremendously large wall, but when the construction official goes up there to inspect the site, we just want to make sure we know what we're supposed to be inspecting, whether it's going to be a segmented block wall, a poured concrete wall, whatever it's going to be, so we can look at it appropriately and they can get the necessary permit for it.
And what size are the propane tanks?
1,000 gallon.
You got two 1,000-gallon tanks? Does that require any other special approval other than, no state approval or anything? I don't have any
Okay,
questions.
Richard?
Yep.
Anyone else on the board? Any other questions before we get to the resolution?
I think this the revisions on the plans covered everything that we were questioning to begin with. So I don't think I have anything at this time.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
I don't.
No? Anyone in the public? All right, close. So anything else, Ms. Askin, or you finished?
We're finished.
Finished.
Mr. Gaines was kind enough to shoot me a draft of the
Right.
resolution.
You have.
Comments that he accommodated and we got a final version.
All right. All right. Thank you. Glenn, anything else?
The only thing I would say is that the board, you did have a copy of the resolution for this. There would only be 2 or 3 small amendments to it, just to reflect. I tried to reflect what was going to go on tonight, but I didn't have, I didn't know when this was drafted that Davey was doing another report, so I just added on page 4, Mr. Simmons also prepared an additional report dated August 12, 2024, and applicant agreed to address all items contained in his report, which I think that covers that. And then I was just concerned, as I indicated, that we make sure we get the right set of plans. So in the conditions, on condition number 1, I added consisting of 2 sheets and supplemented by exhibits presented at the August 14 hearing. So Melissa knows what that is, and it's same as prepared by the architect as submitted, as amended by revised architectural submitted at the August 14 hearing. So they're the only changes that would need to be made, as far as I'm concerned, to the resolution, unless, it's your resolution, so.
No, you
unless
covered it
see
all,
something
Glenn,
else.
so I guess Marissa has all those notes, and then testimony's over, so we can memorialize the resolution?
Well, you ought to vote first to approve the
On those.
application, and then vote on the resolution as a second action, Mr. Chairman.
I do have a motion to approve the application.
I'll make the motion.
Have a second, please.
Second,
Any discussion? Marissa, please call the roll.
John Pinkledy,
Yes.
Richard LaRufa,
Yes.
Richard Rohrbacher,
yes,
Landon Teneri,
Yes.
Chairman Kenneth Larry.
Yes. It's been approved, gentlemen, and now we'll memorialize the resolution.
Now we take a vote on the resolution as amended.
I have a motion for the memorialization of the resolution.
I'll make
as
the
amended.
motion.
Second, please.
second,
Any comments? Marissa, please call the roll.
John Pinkledy,
Yes.
Richard LaRufa,
Yes.
Richard Rohrbacher,
yes,
Landon Teneri,
Yes.
Chairman Kenneth Larry.
Yes. And congratulations, gentlemen. You're welcome.
And I'm going to state on the record so there can't be any confusion, as Mr. Dykstra is quickly doing. Keep going, Al. We're going to retain the, what was it, 7 sheets? 7 sheets. Those are going to be kept, and they are the plan set, whereas for anybody looking at this for the construction department or whatever. Although my guess is as the building process goes on, you'll be having additional things. But this is the baseline one. This is the set that the board took action on tonight.
All right, thank you, Glenn.
It's always nice to have an engineer on the other side because you know how to fold these.
At least didn't come.
If you folded them wrong, that was a different issue, oh.
all right. He can leave now, all right? Thanks for coming. Thank you.
His punishment is over.
Next application is 624 Jason Golder for C variance, 12 Stacy Court. Please come forward. Have a seat there, Jason. Want to swear him in, Glenn, if you
I
so
do.
kind?
Jason, move that mic more in front of you so it picks you up, buddy. Jason, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth in the proceedings before the board tonight, so help you God?
Yes.
What is your name?
Jason Golder.
Jason, you got to talk a little louder because we got to be able to hear you.
Got it.
And the board will not be offended, nor will they think that you're yelling at them.
Got it.
And how can we help you?
We're applying for a variance because we hired a company to do work in our backyard to put a pool in and some landscaping and some pavers and things. The first person we hired them in January of 2022. The project was still not done by 2023. So then we let him go, and one of the subcontractors that were working on the project took over the project for him. Finished the project in both applications that are before you tonight. He finished the project, and then after the project was done, we got notice from the township that he never pulled out permits or basically did anything. Then, once we found that out and we contacted him, he said he's gonna call you guys up, call up the township, figure out his end of the deal, get the permits or sort out whatever paperwork he needed to sort out. And then he kind of just disappeared, and we haven't had any contact with him since.
Well, can you explain then what's actually going on, what you want to do, et cetera, at the location?
I'm sorry, can you just let me know if this is for 12 Stacy or 14?
12 Stacy.
So 12 Stacy was a in-ground pool, some pavers around it. There was a kitchen area to the right side. And there was a retaining wall and pathway built from the backyard fence going in from like the driveway down to the backyard. We found out that part of the kitchen was on the septic. And the variance that we want to do is we want to take the kitchen and move it to the other side and then cut out a good amount of the pavers to lower how much it covers up. So that way we could retain functionality of what we originally wanted, but, try to be in compliance with the board and the township as much as we possibly can.
Plans or anything, right? With that, Rich? Yeah, that's. Oh, that's, did you look them all over and
Yeah.
everything? I have that, yeah. David, with your report, would you like to cover that with Jason, if you don't
Sure.
mind right now?
I can do that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mike.
For the record, I'm referring to the report I prepared dated July 2nd, 2024. And as Mr. Golder had mentioned, the primary task involved in the scope of work for this application is to relocate the existing outdoor kitchen, remove slate walks leading to the fire pit area, and remove portions of the existing paver patio that are encroaching onto the septic bed. This work involves some variances. I'll just go through them so that's on the record. And for the record, this subject property is located in the RR residential zone and is a property that was platted prior to August 11th, 1998, which is important for the code. And the following variances are being requested from section 18-4.13E9. The total of both side yards is supposed to be at least 100 feet, and 82.4 feet is provided. This is an existing condition. The maximum impervious area allowed is 18%. The proposed condition is 23.3%, but I note that there's a net reduction in impervious coverage of 2.5% based on the proposed work that the applicant is undertaking, wants to undertake. Per section 18-4.3A3, it requires a minimum rear yard setback of 15 feet to an accessory structure, and the rear yard setback to the existing fire pit is 13.7 feet. And section 18-4.13E9C requires a minimum side yard of 30 feet for a principal structure and total side yard of 100-foot minimum. The existing left yard, side yard is 23.4 feet, and the existing total side yards is 70.5 feet. So those are the conditions, or the variances rather, that the applicant's requesting for
Then, excuse
basically
me,
what's
David,
proposing.
that one, D, and the total of both side yards, they're existing conditions, both of them, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Then with regards to storm drainage, again, I usually put this comment in so the board's aware of it, that the township did pass an ordinance that mitigation for stormwater runoff has to be provided when the impervious surface area is greater than 500 square feet added. But in this particular plan, they decrease the overall net impervious coverage, so stormwater mitigation is not required for this application. The applicant did mention about the chain link fence that encroaches over the property line in certain areas by about 7.1 feet. My understanding is that's going to be relocated,
Yes.
okay? And removal of portions of the paver patio will eliminate the encroachment onto the existing septic field, which is a good thing. As part of the application, if the board wants to grant approval, they're going to have to get approval from the construction official for the paver work, and also get a letter of compliance from the Sussex County Health Department when the work is done, that they have satisfied the requirement of getting the pavers off of the septic disposal bed. And that's my complete report. Plus, I would suggest that a condition be added, Mr. Chairman, if the board wants to act favorably, that an as-built plan be prepared.
All right, thank you, David. Jason, if we do approve the application, it'll be with the adherence of all David Simmons' points that he mentioned in his report too, okay?
Yes.
All right, Marissa, do you want to call on the board members for their comments or questions?
John Pickledy,
I have no comment.
Michael Joseph,
No comment.
Richard LaRufa,
No questions.
Richard Rohrbacher.
I have one question, I believe, just for my own edification, if nothing else. It's noted that the fence exceeds the property line by 7 feet at its max. Is that fence being moved back
Yes.
to be within? Okay, that's all that was my only question. I'm fine. Thank you.
Lana Teneri,
I have no comment.
Chairman Kenneth Larry.
No questions, Marissa, thank you. I'll open it to the public now for any comments or questions they have in regards to this application. Seeing no one in the public, it's now closed and back to the board for a vote. We covered everything, Glenn, so far?
I think you're doing wonderfully.
Thank you. Now, can the chair have a motion to approve this application?
I make the motion.
Oh, we have to get a little bit more detailed than that, John. We can guide you through it, me and Glenn. So,
Guide me through it. I didn't write everything down, but yeah, the fence is going to be moved. We're going to reduce the impervious areas.
If I could amend your,
ahead. My speech?
motion, if you're
Or you
fine
go,
with that,
Rich.
or-
No, go ahead.
We'll have our board attorney prepare the resolution approving application 624, block 6001, lot 5, for Jason Golder for C variance relief for impervious coverage. I believe it's 5.3% then, David? And rear yard variance of 1.3 feet?
Yes.
Thank you. According to all plans and testimony submitted, and of course with the conditions, applicant would adhere to our board engineer's report and all his points in that. And also that you have the Sparta Township Construction Official approval for the pavers and the Sussex County Health Department for this septic system compliance. Okay?
Yes.
And also the as-built plan, Mr.
And
Chairman?
yes, as-built plans.
And also, they will relocate the fence to within the property line.
Correct, Glenn, thank you.
Takes a village.
I second it.
Any discussion?
Thank you.
Marissa, please call the roll.
John Pinkledy,
Yes.
Michael Joseph,
Yes.
Richard LaRufa,
Yes.
Richard Rohrbacher,
Yes.
Lana Teneri,
Yes.
Chairman Kenneth Larry.
Yes. Well, congratulations on the first one. Now, 724, Jason Golder for 14 Forest Hill, C variance relief.
You know what? This is going to sound silly, but I got to swear you in again.
You got it?
Sir, do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth in the proceedings before the board tonight, so help you God?
Yes.
And on this application, what would your name be?
Jason Golder.
Oh, good. Okay, so it didn't change. Mr. Chairman, Jason, is this essentially the same?
Same thing. This is just at my parents' house, not my house. And we hired the same contractor to do the same kind of job. They got a pool. The only addition was they also had a driveway. They reworked their driveway and added like cobblestones kind of and a loop. The problem is now on their property is that the loop is on their septic. And we need according to the plans, move the loop over and shrink the width of it, so that way it fits a car if possible, if they're allowed to keep it according to the board.
So all of the testimony that you previously gave about the 2022 and 2023 and people becoming ghosts of Christmas past and stuff, that's all still true, is that right, on this application?
right.
And you're not living in two different houses. One is for mom and dad and one
Yes.
is for you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Glenn, for that.
I don't want to make a big deal out of it. We got Dave's report, and I think that'll probably cover
Yeah, I'm
most
just
of
going to
it.
say that. Yes, David, if you're so kind, with
Yeah.
your report.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Again, for the record, referring to the report I prepared dated June 3rd, 2024, with regards to the variances that are required, the property is in the RR residential zone and was platted prior to August 11th, 1998. And based on my review, I see the following variances from Section 18-4.13E9. The total of both yards is supposed to be at least, both side yards, excuse me, is supposed to be at least 100 feet, and 82.4 feet is provided, but this is an existing condition. The maximum impervious area allowed is 18%. The proposed condition is 22.6%, but I note from the plans that this involves a net reduction in impervious coverage of 525 square feet. Based on that, again, referring to the storm drainage ordinance as part of past years ago, if there's an increase greater than 500 square feet, stormwater mitigation is supposed to be provided. But since there's an overall net impervious coverage reduction of approximately 525 square feet, stormwater mitigation is not required in this particular application. Under miscellaneous, I note three things of encroachments. The existing chain link fence along the westerly side of the subject lot is over the property line by about 1.2 feet. Ken, correct?
Yes.
The existing wall on adjacent lot 20 encroaches onto the subject property by approximately 1.2 feet near the front corner of the lot. Ken, fix?
Yes.
And there's an existing shed on the easterly side of the subject lot that encroaches onto the subject property by approximately 1.1 feet. Ken, fix?
Yes.
Okay. And then finally, I recommended for approvals, the township construction official as far as the lighting that they're proposing and the pavers, the county health department, once again, to issue a letter of compliance to show that they're satisfied with the removal of the pavers over the disposal bed area. And I didn't have it on this report either, but I'd like to add that they prepare an as-built plan so the township has it for their files.
Thank you, David.
That's my report.
David, I just one question on the maximum impervious coverage. The proposed condition is 22.6%, but I notice on his application, he had 21.8% for the proposed condition. I don't know if it's an error on our end or his.
Where did you see 21.8%, Mr. Chairman? I'm sorry.
On the applicant's application,
Oh,
which is correct or not.
I think I would go with the 22.6%. That was probably on the plans. Sometimes there's an inadvertent discrepancy between the information on the application and what's on the plans. So I would use the 22.6%.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any questions now from the board members on this application? I'll save you the time, Marissa, instead of going down each one of us. No. Oh, nothing? Glenn? Nothing?
No, apparently the applicant has trouble locating fences. I'm kidding, I'm kidding.
Good contract.
It's just odd that you have two houses and you have basically the same issues all the time.
You know, I think it was the contractor who decided to be the ghost of Christmas past. He couldn't measure very well, apparently.
It's true. Sorry.
Then that's it, Jason. Any other testimony, or you're finished?
That's it, sir.
I'll open it to the public now. With anyone that has any comments on this application, please come forward. Seeing no one in the public, it's now closed to the public and back to the board for a vote. The chair will entertain a motion, or if I don't have a motion, I'll make the motion myself.
Make the motion.
John, you wanted a short circuit, the other one, so.
You got it.
I make a motion to have a board attorney prepare a resolution approving application 724, block 102, lot 21 for Jason Golder for C variance for leaf, impervious coverage of 4.6%. According to all plans and testimony submitted here tonight, and also adhering to our board engineer's report, and also the Sparta Construction official, you said, David, right, with the pavers and the Sussex County?
Yes, and also with regards to the lighting they're proposing.
And the lighting, and plus providing as-built plans.
Yes, sir.
Marissa, please call the roll. I mean, excuse me, I need
I
a second
second the
first.
motion.
I was waiting for that.
You seconded, John?
I did.
Any discussion?
Dave, do we have to include the combined side yards being less than 100 feet?
I would, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, It's all per David's report.
Okay.
I'll make sure they're all.
Yeah, that's in his report, right? Yeah. Marissa, please call the roll.
John Pickledy,
Yes.
Michael Joseph,
Yes.
Richard LaRupa.
Yes.
Richard Robacker,
Yes.
Landon Teneri,
Yes.
Chairman Kenneth Larry.
Yes. I guess, what about the written resolution, Glenn?
Yeah, I'm thinking, Dave, is there a problem with him just waiving receipt on both of these?
I wouldn't think so. He knows the conditions of what's got to get corrected, and he can correct it and take care of and get on working on the as-built.
Well, he's going to have trouble finding a contractor, apparently.
A good contract.
So you want, what we just talked about was if you want to get started immediately on both of these, you got to make the revisions and stuff that we talked about, but you could waive receipt of the resolution and go and get building permits or whatever else you need to complete the two
Yes.
projects. Do you want to do that?
Yes.
You're proceeding at your own risk, but there's no objectors out here. So if I were counseling you, I would say, do it.
I'm doing it.
Okay,
And that's for both applications, of course.
yes, sir.
The chair,
So moved.
second, please. Marissa, call the roll.
John Pickledy,
Yes.
Michael Joseph.
Yes.
Richard LaRupa,
Yes.
Richard Robacker,
Yes.
Landon Teneri,
Yes.
Chairman Kenneth Larry.
Yes. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Before we start the next application, I notice our police officers here. What's your name? Well, you can leave now. It was the first application where we needed presence here. Oh, he was here for that? Oh, so he was here for the start of that. I didn't even notice. All right. Thank him too, okay? All right. Appreciate it. Thank you. Good night. All right, the last application is 1024 Michael DeRoches for C variance relief. Please come forward.
Then I'm going to sit out this one. I'll stay. I'm gonna sit out.
All right, so
I got to leave.
you gotta leave the table.
Leave the
You can
table.
stay in the room.
Yeah, I know what it's all about. Yeah, it's okay.
Actually, is there any other business on after this?
No.
No,
So,
Mr. Ashe, you know the way it is. You present your testimony, and after you're finished, we'll open it up to our professionals and then the public.
all right, I think what we should do, Mr. Chairman, is just note that Rich is leaving the board, and are you going to stay for the rest of the meeting, or are you going to call it a night? Okay.
Bring the police back in.
Yeah, you want to?
All right, if it pleases the board, William Askin on behalf of the applicant, Michael DeRochers. Property in question is block 4002, lot 62 in the township. That's 21 Golfview Terrace. The board is probably aware that there was a catastrophic fire on the property about 8 years ago and the house burned to the ground. The application tonight is to complete the reconstruction. You might also be aware that a lot of the reconstruction of the property has already begun. And towards the end of the construction, it's determined that the project, to complete the project, we're going to need a couple of variances. The variance relief requested tonight is for front and side yard setbacks and a height variance for a wall, a retaining wall. The applicant is here tonight to testify. To my right is Mr. DeRochers, and our civil engineer, Mr. Glasson, is to his right as well. The front yard setback requirement is 35 feet.
Bill, you don't have to read all that, and do you agree with David's report? David's going to do that anyway.
Absolutely. We agree with the three things in David's report then, and we'll proceed. I guess have Mr. Glasson present his variance plan, and then we'll go to Mr. DeRocher.
Gentlemen,
Mind if you're so kind?
Absolutely. Gentlemen, let's swear you both in. So would you stand up too, sir? You both swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth in the proceedings before the board tonight, so help you God? We'll start here. What's your name, sir?
Michael DeRoche is the
And
proper
Michael,
pronunciation.
you're the applicant on this one, is
I
that
am.
correct? Okay, now you can sit, Mike. And who are you?
Glasson, civil engineer.
And your licenses have been valid for many, many years, right, Jim? Jim, keep your voice up and make sure we
Just-
pick you up. They are, and just keep your voice up so we get you on the tape. Okay, it's all yours, Bill.
Thank you, Glenn.
Okay. Yep, you can go through the variance plan and start with the overall site improvements proposed, and then just highlight the three variances we need.
This is, I marked this because it's a colorized version of mine. It's a variance plan rendering dated 8/12/24. It's the same thing you have, but just a colorized version for you. A1?
Yes, sir.
All right, this property, lot 62, block 4022, 21 Golfview Terrace, this being Golfview Terrace, the top up here, it's a 27,750 square foot lot in the R3 zone. As was mentioned by Mr. Askin, there was a two-story, three-bedroom home that had a fire. It was torn down to the foundation a number of years ago. And the footprint you see on the left side is a home that's currently under construction. It's a one-story, three-bedroom dwelling. It has a footprint of 3327, where your R3 allows for 18%. It's at 11.63, so the footprint of the house is well below your allowable building coverage in the zone. As was stated, our front setback that currently exists from the foundation of the home that is out there right now is 31.1 feet, where 35 feet is the requirement. Our left side setback is 10.3. Our right side is 9.8, so we comply on both the side yard setbacks because the combination is 20, side yard single, and the R3 is 8 feet. And the rear setback is 197 feet, where 35 feet is the requirement. This property has an area for the first, I'm going to say 120 to 130 feet that ranges in slopes from 0 to 15%. This property has a walkout basement facing the road, walkout basement in the rear that overlooks the Lake Mohawk Golf Course. So it's naturally built for a walkout. Right now, there's a home that's under construction, and there's patio areas from the previous house in the back. There's a circular.
Sir, can I interrupt you 1 second? If this is in Lake Mohawk, do you have a process, Ken?
No, Mark isn't here, Glenn, so no one else is. So
So we don't have to worry about that?
That's why I didn't mention it here. Thanks for catching it, though. Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure.
We have appeared already before Lake Mohawk for this.
Well, we'll get to that. We just wanted to make sure that we were properly constituted.
So again, the first 120 feet, it ranges from 0 to 15%. Then after the improvements that currently exist on the property, there's about another 140 feet of property. Property's 90 foot wide by about, I'm going to say 276 deep. That last 140 feet, severe drop off, almost 60% slopes in some areas with a rock outcrop, so it drops pretty much right off towards the golf course. Right now, out there is a new septic system that's been installed on the downhill side of the home. There is public water, public gas line coming in from Gulfview. Very simply, what the applicant wants to do, and they're colored in purple over here on the right side, is to add a front porch over the front door. The front porch is 16 foot wide by 6.3 feet wide, and it basically connects to the existing driveway. The top of that front porch, the ridge on that, sits at 21 feet. The home is 32 feet high in your building height calculation, but the home from the front property line, when you're looking at it, is about 27 feet. It's a single story with basically a high roof, but it's 27 feet from the appearance at the road, looking straight at them. The difference is when you put this front porch on, we do now reduce our front setback from the 31.1 that exists to 25.4. So that's one of the variances that we're here for, is for that front porch area. It's an open porch. Basically, it's an overhang for the front door. The second item we're here for is a shed that we're proposing on, I'll call it the right side of the house, left side if you're facing it from Gulfview. It's a very small 21 square foot shed, 3 foot by 7 foot. We're proposing it at 9 feet off the property line where 10 foot is the requirement. The interesting thing here is that zone R3 allows a principal structure at 8 feet, but the accessory structure requirement is 10. So the principal structure is actually allowed closer than the accessory structure, but we do need a setback relief of 1 foot on that. The only other item we're asking for relief on is, right now we have a retaining wall that's been approved along the side of the driveway. We've lessened the wall on our revised plan, but the retaining wall had a timber guardrail on the top of it. The wall was about 3 feet high with a timber guardrail. Your wall ordinance states 3.5 feet. So what we've done on this wall, and that's why we need a variance, is the retained height of the wall is still about 3 feet, but we've added an 18-inch knee wall and taken off the guardrail on the top of the wall. Instead of the timber guardrail, we've continued the wall, so the wall is basically a knee wall, freestanding area for 18 inches. And because that 18 inches brings us above the 3.5 feet, we're required to come for a variance. It's not retained soil. 3 feet is the maximum retained on that side, but the wall does require a variance. The wall has been reduced in size from like 40 feet long to 28 feet long. The only other item I'll mention is we're compliant with impervious coverage, and we have installed a drainage system out there right now, which was not needed, but we wanted to do it anyway to be compliant with our downhill neighbors. We installed a drainage system that takes 995 square feet of the roof, and it takes about 1,300 square feet of the driveway, infiltrates it through an inlet and a drywall system in the driveway. So if you were to take that out of our impervious coverage, we'd be at about 16%. We didn't do that, but I'm just telling you what the difference would be, the amount that we're infiltrating. Other than that, on this plan, we've shown some air conditioning units. These are not variances. We've shown a generator. Nothing else that we're proposing required. We have a small fence that connects to the neighborhood fence on this side, left side, looking at it from the road, right side of my drawing. And that's it. But the 3 variances are for that front setback for the porch, the shed being 9 feet versus 10 feet off the sideline, and the retaining wall height going to, retained height is 3.1, and the retained wall now with this 18 inches is at 4.6. So that kicks us into a variance for the wall. We didn't like the aesthetics of the timber guardrail on top of the wall. We wanted to continue the wall up and use that as the knee wall. And I believe there were structure calculations that were done. And that is kind of a summary.
I haven't been there. Is the wall a safety measure too, so you can't?
The wall hasn't been built yet, but
Right.
the wall is for, yes, the
Right.
wall is also for, to act as the guard.
The guardrail.
Yeah. It just looked better to continue the wall up with a cap block on top of it than it did with the timber guide.
Jim, the pre-existing impervious coverage, according to what I have here, was 27.74, which is
Prior to
in
us-
excess of the requirement.
Right, so that was prior to us prior to getting building permits for this house. So this has been approved right now for a grading plan. It's under construction. We had reduced the coverage to be compliant when we came in with that grading plan. We're slightly less even now under this, but we're still compliant. So when we did this originally, we reduced that coverage.
We also need a total side yard setback. Mentioned one side.
No. No, you don't. The total side yard requirement is 20. We're at 20.1 or 20.2. because it's an 8 and a 12, and we're compliant on both sides, we're more than 8. I just was making a point to say that the shed is allowed at 10 foot off, but the house is allowed at 8. That just is.
Excuse me, on your application, you have what you just said, sir, so. Hi.
Well, if Mr. Simmons agrees, and I think he does.
I
Any
agree.
other testimony from you gentlemen?
I'll have a couple of questions after the board gets done.
After Mr. Simmons, of course.
Yeah, but I want Mr. Glass to stay there.
Okay, right, at this time, we'll go to our board engineer, Mr. Simmons.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Again, referring to the report I prepared dated July 17, 2024, Mr. Glasson has basically covered most of the items in the report. Just a couple questions I'd like to get on the record. On page 3 of the report, item 4C on the top, excuse me, specifications for the proposed generator to be provided that show all sound levels limits are met at the westerly property line. I'm not necessarily looking for the specifications now, but it will meet that.
I did submit the specifications from Sound Data, so, to Bill, to your office.
And I believe we did receive them. I'll have to double check that.
And it is in the, outdoor sound attenuated.
And if for some reason, I'm not saying it doesn't, if the generator doesn't meet the limits, you'll do whatever's necessary to meet the limits, correct? Okay. And the other question I had was plans to know any new HVAC systems that are proposed exterior to the building?
Yes, I mentioned over here on the left side, we do have 2 condensers outside.
Okay, so they're shown.
Variances, but I wanted to show them.
Okay. And then the last item that I just bring up is, again, the approvals, the county health department for the septic system, which I saw the permit number, and I believe Mr. Glasson said it's installed already.
It's installed, I can't get the final CMC till the house is built.
Understood. And for the construction official to issue the necessary permits and reviews for the house and the retaining wall that they're proposing. And then finally, upon completion of the whole project, for Mr. Glasson's office to provide an as-built plan of the project. And that's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, David. And now, Glenn, you had a few questions before we get to the board.
Are you also a licensed planner? No. All right, I'm going to ask you some planning questions, but you're allowed to testify to them as the engineer. And you're the best one, I think, for this. So would you say that this is a unique lot in that it's got some severe topographic constraints?
Yes, it is, and those type of constraints get much worse after you're past that first 120, so that, the construction really needs to take place in that first 120 feet.
So this is about the only place.
It
that-
is the only,
And with the size of the house, is this consistent with houses in the neighborhood?
it's only 11% where 18% is allowed, and there's a lot of houses around the lake and that are at the 18%. It's not, it's a 1-story dwelling too, so the previous house that was there was a 2-story dwelling, much higher roof. So everything about it is smaller than what previously existed.
And you wanted 1 story, sir, so that you could motor around better as you age in place. Is that correct?
Absolutely correct.
I'm not calling you old. I just asked. And so it's topography and there are unique and practical difficulties in complying with the ordinance. Is that correct, Mr. Glasson? And what about the negative impact? Does this negatively impact the public good in any way? Is it going to impact any of the neighbors or anything like that, Jim?
Now, what we're asking variances for is an overhang for the front door, which our roof is currently higher than. So that, the roof, the overhang is much lower than our current roof that's out there right now in frame. The shed, the 9-foot setback is de minimis at 1 foot difference from the requirement.
And it's all internal to the lot too, is that correct? And is this consistent with the zone plan and zone scheme, meaning, is this similar to the development pattern that you see in this section of Sparta?
Yes, it is.
And generally speaking, you're complying with most of the requirements of the ordinance as best as is humanly possible.
Correct. Our original grading plan complied with everything. There was just a couple of things, it's through construction that we decided we wanted to come to.
Mr. Chairman, I think that's all we need for the resolution.
All right, thank you, Glenn. I'll open it to our board members now. Marissa, if you can call upon each one.
John Pinkledy,
I have no questions.
Michael Joseph,
No questions.
Richard Rohrbacher,
No questions.
Landon Teneri,
I have no questions.
Chairman Kenneth Larry.
Just wanted to, what type of fuel will be used for the generator?
Natural gas.
Natural gas? And what type of construction is the shed going to be?
It's wood, we actually submitted a picture.
Yeah, I saw the picture. It looks like
It's
wood
a
to me.
It's
Yeah,
a wood shed. yeah.
that's what it is. All right, just wanted to make
True
sure.
woodshed. True woodshed. AKA a sauna.
Okay, I had no other questions. I'll now open the hearing to the public. If anyone has any questions or comments, please come forward. You can come forward, sir. Do you have a microphone over there? Please state your name and address to the secretary.
Yes, good evening. My name is John Chapman. I live at 169 Alpine Trail in Sparta.
And if you want to raise your right hand, do you swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth in regards to your questions in this application?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead, thank you.
My questions are mostly around the due process that the Sparta building permit approval requires. The reason for that is that my property faces a house that's just gone on the market that will be possibly subject to the same kind of expansion as is proposed for this building here. I have a background in this kind of thing from technical compliance, and I have some questions to the board and to the owners. First of all, isn't it somewhat unusual for a variance to be asked after the actual construction has been completed? I thought the purpose of a variance was to agree that it was possible.
We got the question.
Jim?
Let Jim have a crack at it, and then we'll see if we answer it.
Construction has not
That's,
during the course of the construction, Mr. Desrochers approached me about putting an overhang over the front door, and we determined that he needed to go for a variance.
but you have constructed the overhang.
Yeah, I can address that. So, for the board's knowledge, the actual existing house that is still under construction, my builder, unbeknownst to me, actually extended the porch and constructed it. So when I showed up on site, maybe 6 weeks ago or so, I said, what is that? That has to be approved by Sparta. And what he described to me was because there's a barrel vault ceiling with long members, he couldn't build structurally and then attach or glue the extension onto it. So what he said was he had to build out the actual full extent of the porch that requires the variance. And if it came to this day and the variance was not approved, he understands that he would have to cut it back. So it was a constructability issue, not an attempt in any way to undermine the process. That's what happened.
Okay, I want to make it clear, I'm not trying to be difficult to you. I'm trying to understand the process by which we got into this position, because I have exactly the same situation with the same overhangs with the property in front of me. So I'm in the 200-foot notification zone, but I didn't get the request to be consulted or have any input on the original plans. Why is that?
Because that's not how it works in New Jersey.
I'm sorry, the legal, I'll let you finish, sir.
Thank you, sir. You get notice, so you got a notice from them that their
Yes.
application was on for tonight.
Yes,
That notice tells you a story about what they are applying for, and in the notice that was done by council, that notice says that you have the right to go and review the plans that must be on file with Sparta Township at least 10 days prior to tonight. You have there's no sitting down with the folks and talking to them about it. You have a right to review that, and then you come to this hearing, and you have a right to ask questions or make statements under oath.
okay, thank you for the clarification. I'm talking about the original permitting process. And
I believe what you're asking is why, when we got the original building permit, when you notified?
Yeah.
Because there was no variance, we were compliant with all the requirements. So it was no variances were required.
Okay,
So that's the only reason we're here tonight is because now during construction, we've decided we wanted to do three things that required variances.
okay.
No variances originally.
Okay, so again, I stress, I'm not trying to be difficult and understanding the process.
Sir, we get it, you're doing wonderful.
Okay, right. Okay, so I understand that the building has been extended to the maximum permitted by to the adjacent building property lines, both by LMCC and SPARTA regulations. There are a few things, though, which I would say aren't quite neighbourly. And that may not be a regulatory word. First, why is the generator now built onto the smallest zone adjacent to the opposite side property? When viewed from Gulfview, the generator was on the right-hand side of the property. It's now on the left-hand side of the property, away from all of your bedrooms, but not away from other people's bedrooms. Okay?
Would you like me to answer that?
You could answer that, please.
Sure.
So it's true that the generator was on the other side of the house. And so what happened is the site is very steeply sloped, and because we have a walkout basement, there was no place to put a window on the below grade level other than where the generator was. And actually, there was a framed opening there because the previous owners had their master bathroom there. So there was a glass block opening. So what our contractor did was reuse that opening for a actual vision window, and we didn't want to look out onto a generator. The other reason was, from a practical standpoint, the electrical service comes in to the other side of the house, and we have to have normal service, a transfer switch, and a generator. And so from a practical standpoint, it was there. And I did approach the next door neighbors who were directly affected by it, and they're right adjacent, their house, it is their garage. It is not their bedroom. And I sat in their living room before we even finalized the plan and said, are you okay with this? I want to make sure, because we're trying to be very neighborly. And they said, we understand, we have no problem. It is not a full occurrence. If you need the generator to be on, we understand it. It's not like we're going to be testing the generator at 10 o'clock at night when people are trying to sleep. So that's the reason why the generator is where it is.
Okay, thank you. I'll come back to that one if I may. Which way is the exhaust pointing on the Kohler? It is a Kohler generator. It's 40 kilowatts according to your plans. Does it face the lake or does it face to Gulfview?
The radiator exhaust on the generator faces the lake.
Good, thank you. That's neighborly. Okay, the knee wall. I'm a little bit confused, and you'll see that I have a number of confusions. The knee wall is shown as 1.5 inches above your paved area. Down the bottom, it says a maximum of 4.75 feet, as is pointed out. Is that a full hazard for anyone that may be standing on that capping stone? Because it's quite a full distance to the other side, or is that fence that you show on the plot on top of the capping stone?
So the purpose of the capping stone is just to finish the retaining wall. And just so everybody understands, we have a driveway going from the street up slightly to the garage level because we wanted the drainage not to drain down into the garage, into the house, but to drain away from the house. And so you have a driveway and you want to make sure you don't fall over the driveway. So there's a retaining wall below the elevation of the driveway that is actually retaining soil under the driveway. It's doing its job as a retaining wall. We had two options. One option was to put a timber guardrail up so that you wouldn't trip over, and it had to be 18 inches high. And so what we decided when we were looking at the elevation, we thought it would be actually a much more aesthetically appealing solution to have that retaining wall extend up 1.5 feet so that you're, instead of having a wood guardrail, if you will, to prevent you from tipping over or falling over, you just have the actual stone wall. And so the stone is not retaining any soil. It's just it's the driveway that you're walking on.
Yeah.
So from a structural standpoint, and we submitted structural calculations, it's showing that we've got a detail that is compliant. And so the answer is, that's why we have the stone retaining wall, not a timber guardrail. It's as much an aesthetic decision.
No problems at all about the material. I'm just concerned that a 1.6, as it says here, guard is a tripping hazard as much as anything else. But if it's zoning wise acceptable, that's fine. Now let me come on to what I really feel is a point of confusion on my part. First of all, it wasn't 8 years ago it burnt down, it was less than 5, because I moved into my house less than 5 years ago, and I was one of many people that called the fire brigade when we saw it burning. It was very unfortunate, but there you go. So according to this, it's a 1-story, 3-bedroom dwelling to be rebuilt on the existing foundation with additions as shown, okay? You've clarified that you have a full basement and you have a walkout from that full basement. I don't know what the walkout from the basement on the roadside was, because you've only got a front door. There's no walkout from the basement at the front, which is what you said. On the rear, there's no road down there. Okay. Okay, it has a back, so it's not shown on the plan, but it is a walkout, and it is shown on the elevation.
It is shown. It gives you the basement floor elevation.
It says proposed addition, and there's 2 little lines that come out. There's no actual doorway shown down there on the, okay, I can only talk to the documents that I was allowed to see by Sparta, okay? Actually, I did try to see them. I was told I had to make an opera application to see the plans.
Let's get that straightened out. First off, that's very, very European of you to call Oprah opera. I like that a lot. But Maurice, if you're an adjoining property owner, you're allowed to come in and review the plans without an Oprah request.
I did give them to him. I gave him the plan.
I came into the office, I asked to see the plans of the development, not these plans, not the ones for the 3 variances, for the original construction or architectural plans. And I was told I could not see them unless I made an Oprah.
Very good.
That's the lady as far as I'm concerned. So if she can give approval, that's fine. But that's what I was told by your office. I had to make an Oprah application. Yes.
I guess, I still don't understand. I know Oprah, I teach it, but I don't understand why the municipalities, if a citizen wants to see something and not take it
That
out.
was my position as well. I have, the package I was allowed to see is very detailed. It drew up this strange question, because I see 2 bedrooms on the first floor. I don't see that you can go around without any interruption, because you've got stairs all over the place.
Mr. Chapman, you lost me. Are you referring now to the original plans or the plans that are before the board tonight?
The plans before the board tonight, I have no
That's all I wanted
access
to hear. Okay.
to anything else.
Can you guys answer that?
There are 3 bedrooms on the main level. You go down the stairs, and at the bottom of the stairs, there's an open foyer. You look out onto, like, I'll call it a family room with the walkout basement, and there is another room that is not a bedroom. It is an exercise room. It does not have a closet in it. And the main level has 3 bedrooms. So there's 2 bedrooms flanking the front door, and then the primary bedroom is in the back.
That's not shown that way on the plans that were in the package I was given. There's a bed, you go in through your front door, there's a bedroom on the left, there's a bedroom on the right. There's a,
I think I understand the confusion. The full architectural drawings were not submitted because in the end, there's nothing inside the house that we're requesting a variance for. What I think you're referring to is the architect submitted the plans for the porch extension, and he sort of just cut off the floor plan in the middle. So you're only seeing the 2 front bedrooms, but if you saw the rest of the plan, you'd see the bedroom in the back.
I was trying to understand the average grade elevation issue of the property that might be constructed opposite me, and using yours as the example, okay? Because there's a staircase that goes down to that bottom level. You have a full basement and your back is totally exposed, okay? So I'm just questioning how it can be one story. If you've got a staircase that you have to circumnavigate to go up or go down, what are you going up to? You're going,
You're starting in the
no, that's the second story. The first floor is the main floor, even in America.
But what you're saying is there's a split, he's saying there's a split elevation in your first floor.
Yes.
Split elevation.
So you go downstairs to your kitchen and living room, and at that point, you then are presented with a staircase, which goes up to a lovely bathroom complex.
There's 4 stairs, so the house is built on a steep slope. So rather than have the house from the front door project straight out so that at the back you're way up in the air, we introduced 4 steps to sort of step it down so that you're not so high up in the
Okay.
air.
Unfortunately, the package that I got doesn't show all of this. So I'm sorry to be appearing to be difficult. I'm trying to understand what a single-story building is in the township of Sparta.
Let me help you. Single story is defined in the ordinance, which I don't have in front of me right now.
I do.
However, that doesn't trigger anything that this board would have to worry about, because they're allowed to do at least 2 stories in all residential zones. They elected to go to 1 story. David certainly took a look at it, but the construction department has had this set of plans probably for longer than they have most sets of plans. And that's why they're here tonight. So whether it's a 1 or 2 story really has no bearing on the application tonight. That doesn't help you with understanding that, and I
Right.
apologize.
No, I was told it's a very complex calculation to understand, and it truly is. So my only closing comment then is, generators make noise. I have one installed in my house as well. So, by the time we've all done our Monday morning, or Monday lunchtime, or whatever the time is, tests, it gets quite noisy. But you could have had it on the proposed lawn area at the back. It would have been not convenient to your electrical layout, but it could have been put completely away from any of your neighbors, which would have been a nice thing to have done.
We felt by going to our neighbors and asking if it was okay for them, if they had a concern, and they had indicated, no, we're within the setback requirements. We've specified, I'll say, a state-of-the-art generator. We're not trying to do this on the cheap. Our entire philosophy from the beginning was to hire a local architect who does a lot of work in Sparta, to be very sensitive to the aesthetic and architecture, and hire design professionals that are local. So we are trying very much to be good neighbors
Okay.
and good,
So one final, and I promise it is the last question. The front elevation shows windows in the attic, and the side elevation shows windows above the room that is this exercise sauna room, whatever it is. Can you assure that there is no intention to populate that additional roof space that has at least 3 sets of windows in it? I don't know what's on the back of it because I don't have any information.
I actually visited the site today, and if other people have visited the site, they would know that those 2 dormers are fake dormers. There's a unfinished attic, so if you go to the other side of the dormer, it's a unfinished attic with an unfinished floor with insulation going. There's no intention to occupy that at all. There is a stair up to the attic, which is I'll call it a finished stair, which is shown on the drawing.
Yes.
And the reason for that, quite frankly, is we had proposed a pull-down attic to access the attic with a bunch of storage. And our architect said, I can't in good conscience, at your age, recommend a pull-down attic. And so he designed a stair. So we do have a nice stair up to an attic. And at the attic, there is a closet that will be stored. There's no windows there, you know, it's not going to be an occupied space at all. It's going to be storage. It's essentially an excess closet for non-seasonal storage. So if it's wintertime, the summer stuff is up there. If it's summertime, the winter stuff is up there.
Storage is always an issue in our houses.
That's the idea.
Okay,
Okay, sir?
thank you very much for indulging
Thank
me.
you, sir. Anyone else in the public with any comments or questions, please come forward.
Hello.
We'll just take the first one. Please give your name and address to the secretary.
Tara Hagan, Carl Hagan, 179 Alpine Trail. We are the home just above this home.
And please raise your right hands. You swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth in regards to your questions in this application?
Yes.
Yes. H-A-G-E-N?
A-N.
A-N.
Tara, you could go first, I guess, or.
So let me start from the beginning, because I have a lot of questions. My family purchased the home that is above this home in 1976 for the view, okay? We've been there, paid taxes in this town for many, many, many years. The property burned down, unfortunately. The couple that did live there prior sold the property to this lovely couple. I want to address the first part of what you asked, if it has affected any of their neighbors. It has affected us dramatically. They did not come to us at any point and ask us any questions. In fact, we met this couple and asked them what they would be proposing. And I made a mention, please change the roof line. We're going to have no view anymore. We had a beautiful view. It's completely taken away. It is a black wall in front of us. So the fact that it's an empty attic at this point is devastating. I realize that this has nothing to do with your plans and anything to do with the paper and the documents and the measurements and all of those things. It is, as Mr. Chapman said, not very neighborly. Nobody came to us about the Lake Mohawk meeting. Nobody informed us about that. We had no idea that was happening. So I'm not quite sure what we're missing here. So that's all I have to say. And as you can see, I'm very emotional about this because it is traumatizing. I'm sure they're very lovely people, but all I do now is look at a black wall, which is their empty attic. That is very painful. So that's all I have to say. And I don't understand how it's reduced coverage on the property. This house is higher and wider than it was ever before. So I'm very confused about that. So we need to understand that everything, I need to be shown, where is the height measurements taken? Why were we not considered whatsoever? That generator and those air conditioning units are right next to the neighbor next door, but everything echoes up to our house, everything. And it's right below my bedroom. So I'm not quite sure if I have any rights or anything really to say here.
Well, Tara, let's get Mr. Gleason and Mr. DeRocha to respond to her concerns, if you're so kind, gentlemen.
I'll talk. There's a couple of different things going on. The way the impervious coverage works is you have a maximum impervious coverage for your primary structure, which it has to be less than 18%. We are 11%, so we're way under. The other requirement is that the site is a 25% maximum coverage. As Mr. Askin already mentioned, when we purchased the property, it was 27%, so it was already over. In order to comply with the town ordinances, I don't want to say elected, but we realized that we had an issue of being over. And so we designed the house so that we had, including all of the property, to have a maximum of, just under 25%. So that's what it means from an impervious coverage standpoint. As far as I have to say, I'm a little bit surprised because you absolutely came over and introduced yourself while we were talking. You very much made it clear that this house was very important to you. It's your father's house. We completely understand that. And what we did, if you remember, we pulled out the plans and we started walking you through it and said, here this is, here this is. And what you had said was, the most important thing to me is the height. What is the height? I pointed to the elevation on the architectural drawings. Those drawings have not changed. We told you point blank that. As a matter of fact, what happened, just, I'm under oath, is when we met with the architect and had a plan, we went to the neighbor on the left and the neighbor on the right, and we said, we want to make sure that you're okay with this porch variance, because quite frankly, the rest of the house is built as of right, because we were trying to do the right thing. I didn't know you, I didn't have your contact information. I thought that it was most important that our two neighbors felt that we were doing the right thing. I know that the one neighbor, without my knowledge, forwarded you those plans and that you've had them for months. You've never come to us and said, I really studied these plans, or I further now realize, or I know you said what it was, but whatever. My point is that we have tried to be upstanding and do the right thing the whole way. I'm not sure what else to say. We have designed and built the house that is as of right, and I'm sorry that it affects your view.
So-
But, sorry, I don't,
I disagree, because when we came down to meet you, I mentioned to you, please change the roof line, and you made a joke and said, oh yeah, let me just go back to my builder and have him change things in a pretty sarcastic way. Right, so that was before you started construction. Not once did you come knock on the door, which is right above your home, and say, let's talk. And it's fine, and it is what it is. I just want you to understand, and I'm trying to understand how this is all within compliance, because it's a very large home on what seems to be taking over the entire property up and wide. So for me, I don't know nothing about measurements, construction, engineering. I know nothing about that. All I wanted to do is make sure that everything is within compliance, and let you know, and let the Sparta Township know that this hurts. And I don't understand how I have no rights as a taxpayer for 50 years in this town. I don't understand it. So I'm coming from a totally different perspective. I'm not, like I said, I'm not an engineer, a contractor, a lawyer. We're regular people that have lived here for 50 years, and it's just all been taken away. And we love our neighbors. Everybody's very friendly in the neighborhood. And yes, this is a humongous house in our neighborhood. This is not equal to the houses. Our house is a lake community. That street is all lake homes. It's not the same. And it's not a single floor. You have that huge attic that is blocking everything with nothing in it.
If I may,
That's all I have.
and I'll just say this, and then it'll be it. One of the dynamics of this house is that it's exceedingly deep. And it's 50 feet deep. And the reason why it's so deep is because of the slope. And what we did was we rebuilt the new house on the foundation. So the existing foundation was 50 feet deep. We didn't make it any deeper. And the architect was saying, because it is so deep, it's just a geometry issue of you have to have enough slope on the roof to be able to cover that 50 feet. So that's the reason why the height of the house is what it is. But the height of the house is within the ordinance. We've done the calculation, and it is as of right. We did go to Lake Mohawk. It was advertised on their website at their Board of Trustees meeting. It is notified. Everybody in the community gets an email. It was notified that 21 Gulfview Terrace was on the agenda. I feel like we've followed every protocol that there is, and we're trying to do the right thing and build a house that we can be happy in and retire in the neighborhood.
Carl, you can go next, please.
I just have a couple of things. Again, I feel like if the roof isn't higher, it's pretty damn close. The difference was the house that was in front of us was an A peak, and this one is a flat wall. And it spans the whole length of the property, 10 feet from each side, whatever it is. So it's a complete blockage of view where we could look past either side of the house before. The other thing is why at this point, now that the house is built, why wouldn't the house be made 2 feet shorter? Why are we pushing it even further to the limit when you've already been to the limit? That I don't understand. You know, again, the generator thing, to me, why is it next to the neighbors? Why wouldn't it be in the back of the house? I don't understand. I don't know how the house is set up in the back. I don't have those things. But to me, you have a whole backyard with a lot that goes a long ways to the golf course. There's nothing back there. You know, it's basically to the woods at that point. Why wouldn't a generator be back there? That's really all I got.
Mr. DeRoches, could you respond to
Yes,
to
the
Mr.
the lot
Hagan's,
is
2
very
points?
deep, 200 and something feet deep, but when you take the 50 feet of the house, there's actually a very small back porch area, I'll call it back patio area, or it's going to be grass, it's a lawn, and there's a series of retaining walls. So there's really not a place in the back of the house to put the generator. And I don't understand, you know, we're really trying to be very sensitive, and a generator does not cause any noise 99% of the time, other than when it's needed. And I would like to think that most people, when it's needed, would agree that, you know, noise is a reasonable accommodation under the circumstances.
Okay, but a generator pad is only 2 feet wide.
Our generator location meets all town ordinances and setbacks. And the neighbors immediately next to it knew about it in advance and approved it. And it's their garage.
We don't need to be repeating stuff, Mr. Chairman. We've heard this, so.
But Glenn and David, everything's in conformance, correct? With what they're planning to do, et cetera.
With regards to the generator, we did make a specific condition that they have to meet all the sound requirements of the state.
All right, thank you. Come forward, sir, again.
Mr. Chairman,
Excuse me? Oh, wait,
everybody gets one shot.
one shot. Is it going to be redundant of what you said
No,
before?
we don't even get to that.
Oh, we don't?
No, it's
Oh,
one, it's, if you want to make an exception, that's fine, but usually it's only one chance, because otherwise you could be here.
Sir, how long is this going to be?
30 seconds.
30 seconds? All right, go. Make an
Yes.
exception tonight.
Just so you understand, the gentleman did come to LMCC and ask for variance, and he was granted a variance for the porch. No other application was made to LMCC because there was no need. And he was granted the variance on the basis that Sparta approved it because it was considered in your jurisdiction more than theirs.
All right, thank you. Thank you, sir. Anyone else in the public have any comments, questions, et cetera? Seeing none, it's now closed to the public. Any other comments from the board or questions? No one? No one. The chair will entertain a motion. All right, I make a motion to have a board attorney prepare a resolution approving application 1024, block 4002, lot 62, Michael DeRochers. Following variances: front yard variance, 9.6 feet, side yard variance, 1.8 feet, and the wall height variance of 1.25 feet. Are they correct, David?
Mr. Chairman, I believe, and Mr. Glassing can correct me if I'm wrong, there were some slight changes from the date that I did my report. So instead of the retaining wall height being 4.75 feet, it's 4.6. So it would be 1.1 feet, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, David.
Yep. And also, the side yard setback for the shed changed from 8.2 to 9 feet, so that's a difference of 1 foot.
Okay. Noted, thank you. Plus, with the following conditions, that the applicant adhere to all points in our board engineer's report, provide as-built plans. Also, Sussex County Health Department septic system permit approval and the Sparta Township construction official building permits and retaining wall permit according to all plans and testimony submitted here tonight. I have a second?
Second.
But one question, Dave, do we bother having a running test? Or do we know what these generators generate in noise, so we know that they're coming?
I'd suggest that the condition be that it meets all state requirements.
That's all? Okay.
And if they don't meet it when it's put in, they have to do whatever mitigation's necessary to make it meet.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll, Marissa.
John Finkelty,
Yes.
Michael Joseph,
Yes.
Richard Rohrbacher,
Yes.
Lennon Tenieri,
Yes.
Chairman Kenneth Larry.
Yes. And do we have to cover waiving of the written resolution or not on this? Oh, you want question? Have a motion to waive the resolution?
I make the motion.
Second, please.
Second.
Marissa, please call the roll.
John Finkelty,
Yes.
Michael Joseph,
Yes.
Richard Rohrbacher,
Yes.
Lennon Tenieri,
Yes.
Chairman Kenneth Larry.
Yes. Right, your application's complete. Good luck.
Thank you.
Everyone, appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Marissa and Glenn, maybe you could comment on what she's mentioning?
Well, the minutes are being worked on, so it's just been taking a little longer than normal, but we'll definitely move faster for that. Thank you.
The second part of it, though, I'm a little confused about. The planning board makes
The
stuff.
planning board, Dory, she posts the documents online on a Google, they do like a Google Drive, I believe. So, I mean, since I've been working here, the old secretary never informed me that you're doing that, so I'll speak to Dory about it as well.
I would appreciate that. Thank you. Can you just tell me where the Dykstra application was for? What was that location on Main Street?
Oh, that was,
It is, you want me to?
you have it, John?
Yeah, I know off the top of
Have
my
to look.
head. For the, it's down past the middle school, correct me, Dave, if I'm wrong, across, there's a dirt road, not a dirt road, a paved road. You go up that paved road, you cross the railroad tracks, I think there's a gate there, and you go on top of the mountain, and it's up there.
Will it be is it a multifamily dwelling? It's a single family. Okay, with 20 people.
No, no, not at all. That's an upgrade to, and tell me if I'm speaking out. of
No,
turn,
go
but
ahead,
It's just
John.
an upgrade to the wastewater treatment system.
Thank you, I appreciate
So
it.
like,
it's kind of like your house, you have a party. Would be nice if you had a bigger system when you have 20,
I'm just
30 people
joking.
in
Thank
there.
you. Appreciate
It's nice
it.
to have a, a porta john.
Thank you.
All right, Jenny? All right, thank you.
Having the documents cuts down on Oprah requests, which I know that the staff really appreciates, so thank you.
Thank you again. Now, closing it to the public. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
please. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Thank you, David, for everything tonight. Appreciate it.